Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to be diving into the world of altcoins, specifically in 2025. And more specifically, we'll be looking at the potential impact of altcoin ETFs if and when they hit the market. We've got an article here from Anycoin Direct by Ted Maas, and there's this kind of bold prediction by Bloomberg ETF expert Eric Balchunas that really caught my attention. He says 2025 could get wild for altcoins if these ETFs end up getting approved. So, what do you think? Is he onto something here, or what?
Well, I mean, it's not just hype. Remember we just saw the Bitcoin spot ETFs launch in 2024,
Yeah.
and they already brought in a ton of money, like over $106 billion to be exact. And that influx of institutional money is a big reason why we've seen Bitcoin's price go up, like what, 150% this year. So it's only natural for people to wonder, could this be the way for other cryptocurrencies to take off?
That's a really great point. I mean, everyone loves a good precedent, right? Especially in the financial world. But why is Balchunas specifically predicting this wild market for 2025? What's so special about next year?
Well, actually, he expects the number of ETF applications to like triple by January. There's a lot of anticipation building around this whole thing. A big reason for that is that SEC Chair Gary Gensler is leaving. And he's been, pretty hesitant about crypto in general. So this could open the door for a more crypto-friendly approach from the SEC, which would make those altcoin ETF approvals way more likely.
Now, the article mentioned a few specific altcoins that are being considered for these ETFs. We're talking Solana, Ripple, Litecoin, and Cardano. That's quite a lineup.
Yeah, it is. And it's not a coincidence either. I mean,
Sure.
these are some of the biggest names in the altcoin space. They're well established. They've got decent market caps, the total value of all the coins in circulation. And they actually have real world use cases, which is important if you want to attract those institutional investors.
Okay, let's break those down a bit further, shall we? I mean, I see these names all the time, but I'm always curious, like, what makes them so attractive to these institutional investors, these big players? They must be looking for something specific when they decide where to put all that money.
Oh, for sure. They're not just going to jump on any bandwagon. They want to see potential. They want to see stability. And of course, they want a good return on their investment.
Okay, so let's start with Solana. What's the big appeal there?
Well, imagine being able to process thousands of transactions every second for like a fraction of a penny. That's what Solana offers. And it's a total game changer. I mean, that speed and efficiency make it super attractive for developers who are building the next generation of decentralized apps, like gaming, DeFi, NFTs, you name it. And for institutional investors, that means there's this platform with huge potential for growth and innovation.
So Solana's all about speed and scalability.
Got it.
Now, what about Ripple? It seems like they're making a lot of noise in the world of cross-border payments, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Ripple, or XRP. It's native token. It's all about making international payments smoother and faster. They're tackling this age-old problem of like slow and expensive cross-border transactions. And they're doing it with some serious backing too. I mean, they've already partnered with major financial institutions, which gives them a big advantage when it comes to adoption.
So basically, if you're a bank and you want to move money across borders quickly and cheaply, Ripple is looking pretty good right about now.
Yeah, it's a pretty compelling alternative to the traditional SWIFT system, which can be, slow and costly. And for institutional investors, that kind of real-world adoption is a really strong signal.
Interesting. So we've got speed and scalability with Solana and real-world adoption with Ripple. Now, what about Litecoin? Didn't it start as like an improved version of Bitcoin or something?
Yeah, you got it. Litecoin is often called like the silver to Bitcoin's gold. It was designed to be faster and cheaper than Bitcoin for everyday transactions, which makes it appealing for, smaller day-to-day use cases. But for institutional investors, it's the stability and the track record that are really appealing. It's been around for a while, and it has a proven track record, so it's a relatively safe bet compared to some of those newer, more volatile altcoins.
So Litecoin is the reliable friend you can always count on.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And finally, we have Cardano. Now they seem to be taking a very, academic and meticulous approach to their development.
So Cardano is all about building a secure and sustainable platform for the future of decentralized applications. They really emphasize rigorous peer-reviewed research and scientific validation in their whole development process. It's like their blockchain is being built by a team of, super meticulous researchers who are committed to getting it right.
It's really fascinating how each of these altcoins has its own unique strengths and appeal. But if they're so promising, why haven't we seen a ton of ETFs for them already?
Well, that's where the regulatory landscape comes in. The SEC under Gary Gensler has been pretty cautious, especially when it comes to altcoins. They've raised concerns about things like market manipulation and investor protection.
But with Gensler leaving soon, could this be a turning point? Are we about to see everything change?
Well, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? A new SEC chair could bring a more open-minded approach to crypto regulation, which could pave the way for those long-awaited altcoin ETFs.
Okay, so let's imagine a world where Solana, Ripple, Litecoin, and Cardano all have their own ETFs trading on major exchanges. What kind of impact would that have on the crypto market as a whole? And what would that mean for everyday investors like myself?
Well, first and foremost, it would make these altcoins a lot more accessible to a wider range of investors. Imagine being able to buy shares of an altcoin ETF right through your regular brokerage account. No more navigating those complex crypto exchanges or worrying about losing your private keys. Think of it this way. Instead of buying individual cryptocurrencies, you're buying shares of a basket that holds those cryptocurrencies. So it's easier to manage, and it reduces some of the risk that comes with holding individual assets.
So it's kind of like having a taste of everything without having to become a master chef.
Exactly. And that could be really appealing for someone who's, just starting out with crypto.
Yeah.
But I actually think existing investors will benefit from these altcoin ETFs too.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Yeah. Remember that institutional money we talked about with Bitcoin ETFs? Well, we can see a similar thing happen with altcoin ETFs. These ETFs will make it easier for those big institutional investors, like pension funds and hedge funds, to add altcoins to their portfolios. And that increased demand could lead to some pretty significant price increases.
That's interesting. So it's not just about individual investors getting easier access. It's about potentially bringing in a whole new wave of institutional capital.
Right. And that's why it's so important to understand how these ETFs work and what the potential implications are for the market. We've talked a lot about the potential for growth and the risks involved. But there's another aspect of this that we should mention, the impact on the legitimacy and adoption of crypto as a whole.
Okay, let's talk about that. What do you think the broader implications of these altcoin ETFs will be for the whole crypto space?
Well, think about it this way. When Bitcoin ETFs were first approved, it was a huge step towards mainstream acceptance for crypto. It showed that regulators were starting to take the industry seriously, and it gave traditional financial institutions a more regulated and familiar way to invest in Bitcoin. We could see the same thing happen with altcoin ETFs. Their approval would further legitimize the crypto space and potentially attract even more investors and drive even more innovation.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like getting a stamp of approval from the traditional financial world. But wouldn't that also bring more scrutiny and more regulation? Is that necessarily a good thing?
It's kind of a double-edged sword for sure. More regulation can lead to more stability and more investor protection, which is generally a good thing. But it can also stifle innovation and make it harder for smaller players to compete. It's all about finding the right balance. And it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
So we've got this potential flood of institutional money coming in, increased legitimacy for the crypto space, and of course, the ever-present potential for volatility and market manipulation. It's definitely a lot to think about. Any final thoughts for our listeners on how to navigate this whole complex and ever-evolving world of altcoins and ETFs?
I think the most important thing is to stay informed. Do your research, and don't get caught up in all the hype. It's easy to get swept away by all the excitement, especially when you see prices going up. But remember, investing is a marathon, not a sprint. Make sure you understand the risks involved, have a clear investment strategy, and most importantly, never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Solid advice. And speaking of navigating this exciting world of altcoins, there's one aspect we haven't really touched on yet, the global perspective. This article we've been discussing is mostly focused on the U.S. market. But what about other countries?
Yeah, that's a great point. The crypto world is global, right?
Right.
And what happens in one market can definitely impact others. So how might altcoin ETF approvals in other countries, like say Europe or Asia, impact prices and adoption on like a global scale?
It's like you said, the crypto world is global, and what happens in one market can definitely affect others. So how might altcoin ETFs being approved in other countries, like maybe Europe or Asia, impact prices and adoption on like a global scale?
Well, it's kind of like if other countries start approving these altcoin ETFs, it could create this like domino effect. Imagine like a major financial hub like Singapore or Switzerland. Suddenly, they give the green light to these ETFs. And now you've got this whole new group of investors who can easily access altcoins, which could drive up demand and prices everywhere. It's like adding fuel to the fire.
So it's not just about the U.S. market leading the way anymore. It's becoming more of a global thing.
Exactly. And this global adoption could really change the game for the whole crypto industry. If we have multiple countries embracing these ETFs, it could even force those regulators who are a bit hesitant
Hmm.
to reconsider their stance. It's like this global wave of acceptance that's gaining momentum.
Okay, so we've got this potential wave of global adoption, increased institutional investment,
Mhm.
and a ton of excitement building around altcoin ETFs. But what about the average investor out there? Someone who's just starting to get into crypto. What should they be thinking about as they navigate this crazy new world?
Well, it's definitely an exciting time to be a part of the crypto world, no doubt about that. But, like with any investment, you got to approach it with a level head. The most important thing is don't get caught up in all the hype. It's so easy to see headlines about Solana soaring or Ripple's massive gains and feel like you're missing out. But remember, what goes up can also come down.
So it's all about staying grounded and not letting your emotions control your decisions.
Exactly. Take some time to learn about this stuff. It's like what we talked about earlier. Doing your own research is so important. You got to understand the fundamentals of the cryptocurrencies you're interested in, the technology behind them, the team, the use case.
Right. Don't just jump in because everyone else is. Make informed decisions.
Exactly. And remember, diversification is key.
Yeah.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread your investments across different assets, including crypto. And never invest more than you can afford to lose. The crypto market can be volatile. So be prepared for the ups and downs.
That's really great advice. I think a lot of people forget that investing is a marathon, not a sprint. It's all about making smart decisions, managing risk, and being patient.
You got it. And remember, the world of crypto is constantly changing. What might be true today might not be true tomorrow. So stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring. There's always something new to learn in this space.
Well said. This has been a really insightful deep dive, and it's definitely given me, and hopefully our listeners, a lot to think about as we head into 2025 and beyond. It seems like we're on the verge of a huge shift in the crypto world, and it'll be really interesting to see how it all plays out. Any last thoughts you want to leave our audience with?
Just this. While we've been focusing on altcoin ETFs and the US market, it's important to remember that crypto is a global thing. Keep an eye on what's happening in other countries. Pay attention to regulatory developments. And be ready for some surprises. The only thing that's constant in crypto is change.
Couldn't agree more. So on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of altcoin ETFs. It's a topic we'll definitely be revisiting as things develop. Big thanks to our expert for all the insights. And to you, our listeners, for joining us on this journey. Remember, the future of finance is being written right now, and it's up to all of us to stay informed, stay engaged, and be a part of the conversation.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Yeah, that makes sense. The crypto world is global, right? What happens in one place can definitely have a ripple effect on others. So how do you think altcoin ETFs being approved in other countries, like maybe Europe or Asia, how would that impact prices and global adoption?
Well, think of it like this. If other countries start approving altcoin ETFs, it could create this domino effect. Like imagine, a major financial hub like Singapore or Switzerland says, yeah, go ahead with these ETFs. Now you suddenly have all these new investors who have easy access to altcoins. And that could push demand and prices up globally. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire.
So it's not just about the U.S. setting the trends anymore. It's becoming more of a global movement.
Exactly. And this global adoption could be huge for crypto. If multiple countries are on board with these ETFs, it might even force those regulators who are dragging their feet to rethink their whole approach, like a global wave of acceptance is building.
Okay, so we've got this potential wave of global adoption, more institutional money coming in, and everyone's excited about altcoin ETFs. But what about the everyday investor, someone who's just starting to learn about crypto? What should they keep in mind as we head into this new world?
Well, it's an exciting time to be in crypto. No doubt about it. But just like with any investment, you got to be smart about it. Don't get caught up in all the hype. It's easy to see those headlines about Solana's price skyrocketing or Ripple making huge gains and think you're missing out. But remember, things can go down just as fast as they go up.
So stay calm. Don't make emotional decisions.
Exactly. Take the time to learn about this stuff. Do your research. We talked about that earlier. Understand the cryptocurrencies you're thinking about investing in, the technology behind them, the team behind them, what problems they're trying to solve.
Right. Don't just follow the crowd. Make informed decisions.
Exactly. And diversification is so important. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread your investments around. Include crypto in the mix. But never invest more than you can afford to lose. The crypto market is volatile. You got to be ready for the ups and downs.
That's great advice. Sometimes people forget that investing is a long game. It's about smart decisions, managing risk, And patience.
You got it.
Hmm.
And always remember, crypto is constantly evolving. What's true today might not be true tomorrow. So stay curious, keep learning, keep exploring. There's always something new to discover in this space.
Well said. This has been a really insightful deep dive. It's given me and hopefully you, the listeners, a lot to think about as we head into 2025 and beyond. It seems like we're at a turning point in the crypto world. It'll be interesting to see where things go from here. Any final thoughts you want to leave us with?
Just this. We've been talking about altcoin ETFs and the U.S. market. But crypto is a global phenomenon. Keep an eye on what's happening in other countries. Watch how regulations develop and expect the unexpected. The only constant in crypto is change.
Couldn't agree more. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of altcoin ETFs, but we'll definitely be revisiting this topic as things progress. Thanks again to our expert for sharing all this great information. And to all of you listening out there, thanks for joining us. Remember, the future of finance is being shaped right now, and it's up to all of us to stay informed, stay engaged, and be a part of the conversation.
Until next time, keep exploring.